Today we are going to start learning about rational numbers. So we have been learning about integers. So same concept, just a different type of number. So we're going to locate those on a number line and identify their opposites. So we need to understand what a rational number is first. So we've been talking about those integers, which are positive and negative whole numbers. So we're going to keep talking about whole numbers, but we're going to add in any positive or negative number that can also be a fraction. So we're talking about any whole fraction, decimal numbers, positive or negative now. So here's some examples of rational numbers. So 5/8 is a fraction. That's rational. 0.25, I can write that as a fraction. So that's rational. So any decimal can also be considered a rational number. -3/4 is a fraction and rational. 7 is an integer because it's whole, but I can also write 7/1 and turn it into a fraction. And so that means, yes, it's an integer, but it's also a rational number. 0.333, I can write that as 1/3. Sorry if you just heard a big bang. My kids are upstairs playing. So there also is a rational number. I can write -1.5. That's also rational. So any decimals, fractions, whole numbers are considered rational numbers. So let's take a look at those on a number line. So our first question asks us how many equal lengths are between 0 and 1. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are counting the spaces. We don't want to count the lines. We want to count the spaces in between, and that will tell us our unit fraction. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces in between. So that means our unit fraction is 1/4. So here would be 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 1 whole could also be written as 4/4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. We could also simplify 2/4 into 1/2. So let's take a look at another one and see how many equal lengths are between 0 and 1. Remember, go ahead and count the spaces. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that means our unit fraction is a tenth. And if we were to write that as a decimal, we would have 0.1. That's the same thing as 1/10. So here's 1/10, 1/10. So we could carry on here. So 2/10, 3/10, on and on. We could also go negative and have -1/10, -2/10, and continue on that way. So let's find where point B would be. So it's -0.3. So I'm going backwards 1, 2, 3 places. So here's B. And if I do C at 0.7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7/10 goes there. Now it says to draw a point at 0.2. So over 1, 2/10, and label it M. Then it asks us to draw a point at the opposite of 0.2. Oh, sorry, I just noticed I was supposed to label that C. So now we're going to do the opposite of 0.2, which is -0.2, and label that as N. So if I do this one here, I can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces in between. So we are using a number line that has unit fractions of a fourth. So -1/4 goes back 1 out of the 4 places is A. B is over 3 places, 1, 2, 3/4. C is -1, so go all the way to -1 and a half, so 1, 2 out of 4 places. So here's C. So make sure when it has a whole number in front that we include that. So don't just do the half. Make sure you go 1.5. And then it wants us to put point D at 6/4. Well, I know 4 can go into 6 one time, and I'm left with 2 out of 4. So all the way to 1 and 2 more. And that was point D. Another way I can think of that is just starting from 0 and counting over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. And the last part of our lesson today is to identify opposite rational numbers. So remember, when we are doing opposites, if it's positive, we make it negative, and if it's negative, we make it positive. So the opposite of negative 2/3 is just 2/3. And when we're writing a positive number, we do not need to include that positive plus sign. So the opposite of positive 7/10 is negative 7/10. The opposite of negative 11/12 becomes positive 11/12. So all we're doing is just taking them and making them opposite, positive, or negative. So we have positive 1/6. The opposite is negative 1/6. All right, that is everything for today. Be sure to go and check out my YouTube channel and subscribe. Just kidding. You probably don't want to check out my YouTube channel. It's kind of lame. All right, have a good day.